I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The hammock, my hammock, had become a canvas coffin. Someone had wrapped me like prey, and they were dragging me somewhere. That's when the dragging stopped, and I heard them unwrapping the cord. Welcome to Nightmare Host, where true horror lives, where the stories you're about to hear aren't fiction, they're confessions. Testimonies from people who walked into the wilderness and barely walked out. Tonight, we descend into the Appalachian Trail, 2,000 miles of ancient forest, where cell phones don't work, where screams echo for miles, and no one hears. Put on your headphones, turn off the lights, and whatever you do, don't go into the woods alone. This first story comes from a man I'll call Michael, mid-20s, experienced hiker, late 1,980 seconds, before cell phones, before GPS. Just a man, his gear, and the raw Appalachian wilderness. Michael's dream was simple: hike the southern portion of the trail. 2 weeks, solo. Prove to himself he could do what his uncle did in the 50 seconds. The first few nights were hell. His body screamed, but he adapted, and he learned to love the solitude. The only sounds? His boots, his breath, and at night, his hammock. Strung between 2 trees, high enough to avoid the forest floor, away from the bugs, the assassin beetles, the cow-killer ants, away from other things. Sleep never came easy. Every rustle, every snap of a twig would jolt him awake. But that's just nature, right? That's part of the experience. Until the night it happened. Michael woke to the sound of leaves. Crunching. Close. Too close. He turned his head. Slowly. And there, a shape. Human. Tall. Just staring at him. In the darkness. Not moving. Not speaking. Just watching. Michael didn't think. Instinct took over. He rolled out of that hammock like his life depended on it. Because it did. He ran. No direction. Just away. Into the black forest. Thorns tearing at his arms. Roots trying to trip him. And behind him, nothing. No pursuit. No voice. Just the sound of his own terror. He circled back. Carefully. Quietly. Every shadow could be him. But when he reached his camp, nothing. The figure was gone. His gear, untouched. It was like it never happened. But Michael knew better. He didn't sleep that night. Or the next. He hiked hard. Fast. Putting miles between him and that place. And for a few days, he thought he was safe. But the thing about the wilderness, the distance, means nothing. If someone knows the woods better than you, they can always find you. Michael woke up again, but this time, something was wrong. He couldn't move. His arms pinned to his sides. The hammock, it was wrapped around him, tight, like a cocoon, like someone had bundled him up while he slept. Then he hit the dirt, hard. The air exploded from his lungs, and before he could scream, he was being dragged through the forest, wrapped like cargo, and whoever was pulling him, they were strong, relentless. Michael screamed into the canvas. He thrashed, but the fabric was too tight, and the dragging didn't stop. That's when he remembered his watch, his father's old watch, the clasp. He was sharp, worn down. He'd cut himself on it before. He raked that clasp across the canvas, over and over, each scratch bringing him closer to freedom, or to being heard. The fabric gave way. And Michael, he exploded out of that cocoon, like a man being born into hell. He didn't look back. Couldn't. He ran until his lungs burned, until his legs screamed, until he saw lights, civilization, a house with lights on. He pounded on that door like death itself was behind him, because maybe it was. The police came. They searched, found his camp, found the severed hammock ropes, but the person? Gone. Vanished into the mountains like smoke. Michael never finished that hike. He went home. And to this day, he has no idea who was stalking him or why. But he knows one thing. That person knew those woods better than any man. And they're still out there, waiting for the next hammock, the next hiker, the next cocoon. The Appalachian Trail spans 14 states, over 2,000 miles, millions of acres of forest. And in those woods, people leave things behind. Trash, memories, secrets. But sometimes they leave something else, something you were never meant to find. This story comes from two college students, best friends. I'll call them Sarah and Emma. Junior year, summer of 2004. They'd hiked before, but never alone, never this remote. The plan was simple. 5 days, Vermont's portion of the trail. Moderate difficulty, nothing they couldn't handle. They were young, strong, confident. Day 1 and 2 were perfect, postcard-worthy, the kind of trip you brag about to your friends, the kind that makes you fall in love with the wilderness. Day 3, they went off-trail. Sarah saw it first. A flash of color, bright red, unnatural. In a forest of greens and browns, red stands out. Red means danger. Red means wrong. They thought it was trash. A lost jacket, maybe. Hikers are messy sometimes. But as they got closer, it wasn't lost. It was placed, tied, knotted, carefully, around the branch. About 7 feet up, like someone wanted it to be seen. Like it was marking something. And below that shirt, Ector the earth was disturbed. 2 graves, freshly dug, empty, or not yet filled. Sarah grabbed Emma's arm. No words. They both understood. This wasn't old. The dirt was fresh, the edges clean. Someone had been here. Recently. That's when they heard it. Movement. In the trees. Not an animal. Too deliberate. Too measured. They didn't wait to find out. They ran. Back to the trail. Back to anywhere but there. They didn't stop until they hit the main trail. Until they saw other hikers. Until they had witnesses. Safety in numbers, they told a ranger. Described the location, the red shirt, the graves, the ranger. He went pale. Turns out, they weren't the first to find those graves. 3 other hikers. Over the past 2 years. Same red shirt, same exact spot. But every time rangers investigated, the graves were empty. Completely empty. No bodies, no evidence, just holes in the ground. And that red shirt, always that red shirt. But here's where it gets worse. The dirt in those graves, it had traces, DNA, not from a body, but from multiple people. Skin cells, hair follicles, like someone had been practicing. The rangers kept the area under surveillance for weeks. Cameras, motion sensors, but whoever was digging those graves, they knew. They never came back, at least, not while anyone was watching. Sarah and Emma finished their hike. They didn't quit, but they hiked faster, slept less, and every rustling leaf, every snapped twig, they wondered if they were next. If those graves were meant for someone specific, or just anyone unlucky enough to wander off the path. They made it out, alive. But that red shirt, still out there. And those graves, still empty, waiting. The trail teaches you things. Self-reliance, endurance, humility. But it also teaches you to trust your instincts. Because when you're miles from civilization, when your phone has no signal, when the nearest help is a day's hike away, your instincts are all you have. And sometimes, they tell you to run. This story is from a man I'll call David, and his friend, Marcus. Experienced hikers, Tennessee, early 2000s. They'd done this route before, knew the shelters, knew the risks. Or they thought they did. They reached a shelter around dusk, not planning to stay the night, just a break. Water, snacks, social time. There was another couple there, young, maybe mid-20s, a man and a woman. At first, David and Marcus didn't pay attention. Couples argue. Happens all the time, especially when you're tired, hungry, and your feet hurt. But this argument wasn't cooling down. It was escalating. The woman, let's call her Sarah, she wanted to keep hiking. Right then, at dusk, the man was trying to talk sense into her. And then, she did something stupid. She grabbed her pack, turned on her flashlight, and started walking, alone, into the dark trail. David called out, told her it wasn't safe. The southern AT at night? Black bears, copperheads, cliffs you can't see until you're falling off them. But she yelled back, something vulgar, and kept walking. Her boyfriend, he didn't follow. Not right away. Pride, maybe. Or exhaustion. Or maybe he just thought she'd come back once she cooled off. But David and Marcus, they had a bad feeling. An hour passed. No Sarah. The boyfriend was getting anxious now. Pacing. Checking his phone. No signal, of course. Marcus told him they should go look for her. David agreed. They started down the trail, calling her name. Sarah! Sarah! Their voices echoing into the black forest. And for a long time, nothing. Just the sound of their own footsteps. Their own fear. And then, they heard it. A scream. Somewhere ahead. Off the trail. It wasn't a playful scream. It wasn't an "I twisted my ankle" scream. It was primal. The kind of scream that activates something deep in your brain. Run. Danger. Predator. They ran. Flashlights bouncing. Branches whipping their faces. The boyfriend screaming her name. And then, a second scream. And this one was worse. They found her. 30 yards off the trail. Lying in the dirt. Her leg bent at an angle that made David's stomach turn. Broken. Badly. She was hysterical. Screaming that he is here. That he is still here. That someone, something had come out of the darkness and smashed her leg with a branch or a bat. She didn't see. Just felt the impact. Heard the crack. And then saw a shape running back into the trees. David and Marcus spun their lights in every direction. Shadows danced. Every tree could be hiding someone. Every sound could be footsteps. Or just paranoia. They couldn't tell. They had to move her. Had to get her back to the shelter. Get help. But moving her meant hurting her, and staying meant being targets. They made a stretcher. Crude, but functional. And they started moving. Slow. Every few feet they'd stop. Listen. Look. The forest seemed to be watching them. Breathing with them. David swore he heard footsteps. Matching their pace. just out of sight. But every time he turned his light, it's nothing. Marcus heard it too. They didn't talk about it, didn't want to scare Sarah more, but their eyes met, and they knew. They got her to the shelter. Another hiker had a satellite phone, called for help. A ranger and medics arrived 2 hours later. Airlifted Sarah out by helicopter at dawn. They asked Sarah what happened. She told them the same story. Someone attacked her, deliberately. She didn't trip, didn't fall. Someone waited for her to pass, and then struck. The rangers searched, found the spot where it happened, found scuff marks, signs of a struggle, but no weapon, no footprints that didn't belong to Sarah or the men who rescued her. No forensic evidence of another person. The official report called it an unknown incident, possibly an animal, possibly a fall she misremembered due to shock. But Sarah insisted. David and Marcus believed her. And to this day, someone out there knows the truth. Someone who walks those trails. Someone who knows them better than any hiker. And when they see someone alone, someone vulnerable, they strike. 3 stories, 3 encounters, 1 truth. The Appalachian Trail is beautiful, majestic, ancient, but it is not safe. It is not your friend. Every year, thousands hike it. Most come home with stories of sunrises and solitude, but some come home with nightmares, and a few don't come home at all. Michael still won't go camping, not alone. Sarah's leg healed, but she never hiked again. The red shirt graves, still unsolved. The rangers stopped talking about them. Officially, they don't exist, but the hikers know. They warn each other, quietly. If you ever find yourself on the Appalachian Trail, stay on the path. Don't wander. And if you see a red shirt hanging in a tree, run. This is Nightmare Host. The darkness is patient. It can wait. Subscribe if you dare to return. And remember, the woods are always watching. Sleep well.